Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is Warren County Sheriff Mark Butler. Mark, it's been a while since you've showed us your presence in the studio.
Well, we've had a lot of people in here with Robbie and our canines and so forth.
They are great, and Master Deputy Chris Anderson, and
awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
He's an amazing handler, and he just did a training track yesterday. So they laid the track 48 hours. 48 hours before, and his dog was spot on.
Yeah.
So he's actually getting ready to be tested with the FBI standards.
Mm-hmm.
Both of our dogs are, and they get requested quite a bit, and
right.
they've already saved several lives and helped us find quite a few.
Amazing. The dogs just amaze me how they can. And when Chris was in here last time, we talked about that scent kit that he had.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Put that scent in that jar, and he said that stuff's good for 10 years, and them dogs will walk right onto that thing.
And that was all Robbie, Lieutenant Seal, and Chris Anderson just coming up with an idea, getting it funded, and going for it was
it's
great.
A low cost. I mean, it's not a big, it's not rocket science. But it's something that. It's kind of like the fingerprint program we have. It's just
a lot of things were.
I was digging through my metal box you keep under the bed, right? And there is my kid's fingerprint kit that we did 30 years ago. There wasn't that in that box there.
If you look at all the things that Lieutenant Seal and the Sheriff's Office really has done in 2 years, sometimes I look back at how have we been able to accomplish with COVID. Civil unrest and the different things happen all across the country and in our county, and wow, it's been fast.
Well,
it's
you got 2 years went by. You got a good staff.
We do. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. I have a great staff.
You always hire people that are better than you.
And, well, we see that with Major Driscoll and what he's done with the drug court, right?
Of course, that wasn't a very high bar, you told me.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I got you on that one.
You got me on that.
Before we go on and we're going to talk about the annual report he just released. And we just put a little story out the other day. Norma Jean Shaw called you, and we kind of wanted to put a highlight out there. But the first thing coming up next is this football camp.
Yes.
And the Washington Divas are coming, and and it was so successful last year, and we're going to come back in. Will and the guys are going to come in a couple of days, and we're going to talk about it. But I thought I'd just get you to make
I love football.
You love football. So.
I mean, I was fortunate enough to be able to coach again for the high school this year, and I enjoyed it. I didn't realize how much I missed it.
Right.
So it was good to get back and work with the kids and get back into something that give me something where I could take an hour or two and just forget about what I was doing.
Yeah, like they just like.
It was like
almost
relaxation. It was.
Yeah, it is good.
And I had a great time with Coach O. Coach O is an amazing coach, and he's been there for so many years. I respect him. I really look forward to seeing him.
You don't get on the line and let them hit you?
Not anymore as much because they frown upon that. I mean, they're all bigger than me anyway, so kids are growing so big.
So you expect bigger and better things. I mean, that camp last year was really successful.
It was, and hats off to Shenandoah, and it's amazing how many people in this community really want to reach out and help and mentor, and that's one of our big programs with our community policing is mentoring. So I've even talked to Ryan Jewell about actually trying to mentor some kids with music and so forth, but he's been so busy now that COVID's kind of relaxed a little bit. Hopefully he'll get signed real soon, but he does a lot of great things also, and anytime there's a benefit to try to raise money for children or something like that, Ryan's always raising his hand first one. Hey, let's do this. Like we raised, I think it was $1,200 in 15 minutes. I basically walked on Ryan's stage and said, "Hey, do y'all like Ryan?" And they go, "Yeah." And I said, "Well," and I dropped $200 in the bucket. I said, "If you match what I put in there, I'll get off the stage, but until then, you got to listen to me sing." It's amazing how much money.
Long, did it?
No, they got me off the stage quick. I don't even think I finished the song.
3-chord Mark.
That's
what
it.
But that's okay. You have fun. Mark plays at the senior center, and
the COVID's kind of shut everything down.
Coming
Hopefully
back. This is we used to have these periods of history now called pre-COVID,
right? And now
crazy.
It's been a crazy 2 years, Mike. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're recovering from a lot of things. If you look at the county and what it's gone through in 2 years, we have an amazing board of supervisors. So the people did very well in their voting, because I will say that Cheryl Cullors, I mean, she is hard-nosed.
She's dedicated.
She is 100% dedicated. Dolores Oates, very passionate. You have Vicki Cook, Mr. Butler, Walt Mabe. They're all passionate. They're all trying to do the right things. Mm-hmm. And they all have different, not always the same vision, but, they have their ideas, and they're not afraid to speak their mind. I know, like with our budgets, they're constantly asking questions. Okay, what about this? What about that? And so every dollar is accounted for.
You got to account. You got to really justify your budget with that bunch.
You do, and that's good.
They got that red pin out there.
For me coming in and having different budgets, I didn't really quite understand why they did it that way. So it took me a while to actually get a grasp of why they did it, and we believe we found a better way, and we saw a lot of redundancies in the budget.
That's how you hide stuff.
Well, I'm not going there. And what I'm saying is there was a lot of redundancies, and I believe in the zero-based budget. This is what it's going to cost for me to operate, and I'm going to do my best to stay within that.
Yeah.
Obviously, certain factors come in that you can't control, investigations, overtime, staffing issues, COVID. It's like our SROs.
Sure.
The school puts out a mandate that if you come in contact with a COVID positive, then you can't be in the school for 14 days, 10 days, or whatever it was at the time. And that means that deputy, just because they don't have COVID, but they can't go back into that school. So now you're filling that spot overtime. There's a lot of things you couldn't account for, and you're constantly, what we called in the military, doing a frag order on staffing, and that's what it feels like. But our staff has really done well. They're a little tired. We have some great candidates in the academy.
Right. We
have some great pre-hires. Our hiring program with our policies, because obviously you saw in the annual report we're looking at accreditation.
Mm-hmm.
We have gone through, our standards are equal to national standards, where we should be accredited once again. Very proud of that. That department we have worked very hard to move forward to follow the standards. And to someone not really understanding accreditation, that means we are following the guidelines. We are being transparent and opening it to outsiders to come in and say, oh, yeah, they're actually doing things by the book, not by let's make a deal under the table.
Right.
And very
What's
proud
one of your
that.
campaign things was, we're going to get rid of the good old boy system, so to speak. I mean,
and it's true. We still have some things equipment-wise. Our software is outdated. We've had to rebuild our entire 911 system. So I can't tell you. Ed Daly is a blessing in disguise. He has helped get a great finance director in there who's really passionate and smart, a human resource officer in there who's, hey, guess what? We're a little outdated. We shouldn't be paying once a month. We should at least do bi-monthly. And so a lot of different and legislation changes. So,
big changes on that.
Right. So there's been so many different changes. That's why it's important to be accredited and and stay within policies and procedures. So as far as transparency goes, it makes you be 100% transparent. Mm-hmm. And we're very proud of that. Right. We're really working hard to make Warren County proud of what we're building, and they should be proud of their sheriff's office, because each and every individual in that department has given nothing less than 100%. And I'm very fortunate to be the sheriff of Warren County. Right.
Well, Mark and their staff, and he might not say it here.
And by the way, I will be running again.
Will you?
100%. So any of those rumors saying that I'm not running, no, I'll be the sheriff.
Squash that rumor.
I will be the sheriff as long as Warren County wants me to.
Right.
And or until I feel we're not moving the agency forward.
Right. We got to get that plug in there. We'll talk more about that coming up. You still got 2 more years.
I do. I have 2 years, but I had people ask me already. I hear you're not running.
They ask you that the day after you got elected.
Right, pretty much. But I'm very proud of what we did, and I can stand in front of anybody and everybody and say, "Hey, I've done exactly what I said I was."
Right. Don't be so surprised. That's always surprises me. Why are you so surprised? People said that's what they're going to do. So.
And that's
one thing he said he's going to do, and he talked about the community policing, and we mentioned this drug court in the past. Well, last night there was a presentation to the town council and to the board of supervisors, and which they all showed up. I mean, most of them showed up.
Yeah.
And the town staff was there. The sheriff and your staff was there. The fire department was there. The people from the drug place, the Northwestern, and they were there, and so we recorded it, and it's very interesting to talk about that. So we're going to put that together, and we'll tell you more about the drug court. But tell us just a little bit about how you kind of got involved in this drug court thing.
Well, I was asked about it when I ran, if you remember, during the debate, and the drug court. If you do the research, one of the first ones done was in Miami. And during the drug boom or the cocaine boom and all that. If you read one article, it's like the glass is half full. Another article, the glass is half empty. So they approached us and said, "Hey, Sheriff, we want you to support the drug court." I'm like, hold on. I don't know what that's going to entail for the sheriff's office.
Right. You have to be involved in it.
I have to be involved in it. I don't have to 100% support, but it will affect the sheriff's office.
You're going to have
one way or the other.
Exactly, right.
And so you tell me exactly what you're going to need from me first. And so myself, Major Driscoll, Beth Rivas, who has been amazing with helping develop this, sat down with Judge Sharp. And I discussed with Judge Sharp my concerns. My concerns with it is I didn't want it to be a gate to let individuals who are dealers. I don't want dealers to get off the street.
Exactly.
We have to get that. Fentanyl changed drugs. Fentanyl changed our society. It used to be marijuana, cocaine. Okay, yes, they were addictive, but people weren't dying. Fentanyl, Drug Task Force will tell you 6 out of 10 can die off of one pill.
Right.
So if you really look at that, I look at it a little differently. I believe the task force is doing great work. Actually, our guys in the task force took 78 fentanyl caps off the street, working together. So we are working together, and we're part of a task force, just not this task force. And we're doing more of the interdiction side of it. So when we get them, that's our job. Our job is to get them off the street. Once they go to the court, that's the Commonwealth attorneys and the judges. And then the mental health and all that. We're not psychiatrists. If we were, we'd be making a lot more money than what we do. But you want to support
activities that will keep them off the street. Keep them from coming back where you have to deal with them again and again and again.
So is the drug court an end-all, be-all? No. But if you look at it with fentanyl and everything else, how can we not try it? It's being tried all over the country, and how can you not try it if it can save one of our children? So, yes, you can say the glass is half empty. Yes, you can say it's half full. But if we save 1 or 2 lives, don't we have to try it? I mean, really, we're spending money on spinning our wheels in other areas that aren't working. We're not reviewing, and the very fine steps of leadership is problem solving. And the first thing you do is identify a problem, you make a plan, you implement the plan. But what most people don't do is review the plan.
Right.
They never go back.
No evaluation.
They're just constantly going over, doing the same things over and over and over again, expecting different results. Well, isn't that insanity? So that's why we looked at it and we saw, okay, we want to mentor our youth. That's why our SROs are coaching. Our SROs are trying to get involved. Our community policing with Terry Fritz and Robbie Seal and everybody else are trying to reach out to the HOAs, the civic associations and so forth. And we're really trying to reach out on that aspect of it. But then if you look at our patrol guys, with our canines and everything else, we're taking the drugs off the street. That's our motto. We are going to take it off the street. And speaking of that, we did the stats. In 2019, Warren County had 80 arrests for felony drug arrests. In 2021, I believe we had 196. In 2022, we had over 200, I believe it was 35 felony arrests for drugs, almost 3 times more than 2019. And the average was 70 to 80 felony drug arrests for 5 years prior to that. So if you look at the true, we are taking the drugs off the street. I have pictures I could show you that with our federal guys that we're working with, we have taken over 65,000 fentanyl pills off the street last year.
Right. And it also, these statistics show that the drug problem is not the same. It's growing as well. So
exactly. So I think you have to do it with you can't just use one spear or one fork, one prong. It's got to be multitude. And I'm not diminishing what anybody else is doing. I'm just saying I believe what we're doing is good.
You're not just sitting back doing nothing.
I believe what the task force. I don't know their stats, but I know we're working together and they're doing hard work. I know many of the guys. Lanny Waller's a great investigator, great detective. I respect him dearly. I've known him since we were kids.
He came in and I didn't even know who it was.
Right?
He said, "Oh, he's on the drug task force now." I said, "Oh, that's why."
Hey, you know what? The town police are working very hard. Our guys are working very hard. And, we're very fortunate in Warren County to have the professionals that we do have. Can we get better? Of course we can.
That goes back to this accreditation. That's how you get better, because you can measure and evaluate the processes, the procedures. That's really what that's about to me. I mean, if you don't inspect what you expect, you're never going to, you won't grow. You can't get there. And you have to have a benchmark to measure against.
Correct. So when we sat down and we kept talking about it, and Dolores Oates and Mr. Gillespie was really pushing this drug court. And so after speaking with Judge Sharp, I looked at it and said, okay, if we want to do this, what's stopping us? And Major Driscoll goes, I have an idea, and we'll talk offline. So we got back to the office, and he goes, Mark, and by the way, he has his MBA in business. So I think we need to do a business plan, a business model. And he goes, if you will allow me, I will get with Beth Rivas and we will build this. And that's exactly what Major Driscoll did. He sat down with Beth Rivas, and they've been working together collaboratively for about a month or so.
Right.
And they have really spearheaded everything and basically walked in with the model saying, here it is. Right. We've done all the research. We've done all the figuring. And now we can move forward. So really and truly, Major Driscoll, his hats off to him, because without those two, this drug court would have just been a talk, would have continued talking.
Right. Well, when you watch this video that we did last night, you will see the passion in Beth, but also in the chief of police that's involved in it, and also our town council and our board of supervisors, that they're behind it 100%.
Well, of course,
and that's they are. So they see it, and that's good.
And the chief, he's been working in law enforcement in this county for 20 some years, and I'm sure he's frustrated because all the hard work we do and we continue to do. And really, it's done nothing but raise and escalate.
Right. And this court really is beyond more than, yes, it's, I hate to use, maybe not to use the right word, rehabilitate offenders. But it's also, like you said, those offenders have already touched our community in other places, our children and other citizens.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not just affecting 5 people or 30 people. It's the hundreds of people they all come in contact with, that new contacts have to be developed in the criminal world. And all that takes time. And also, time you have more people, new people, easier for you to investigate. Anyway, it's a moving target. But I think as you put a little nick in the armor here and a nick in the armor there, those open up opportunities for law enforcement.
Well, I kind of think that's why I think what the task force is doing is great and what we're doing is great. is we're doing interdiction. Interdiction is flat out just hammering it, making traffic stops, pulling the drugs off the street.
Well, I heard a comment, before you mentioned where, you would do a buy and get one and do another buy, and 3 weeks go by before you ever made an arrest. You don't do that now.
Well, no, we don't.
No.
And now,
some places, because they have to give them evidence.
Right, depending on the level.
But I like the comment that you made about it. You didn't realize that guy's still selling drugs for 3 weeks and I know he's out there.
Right, and if 6 or 10 people can sit there and die from the fentanyl that's out on the street, how many people are we allowing? And we know this house is selling fentanyl. How many people are dying as we try to build a case? So my motive is this. I told you when I ran, I wanted to go after cutting the head off the snake. So we get it, and if they flip and we can take them forward, great. If they don't, guess what? You're going to deal with the judge in the court.
Right, exactly.
And people, our community really needed to look at this and say, this isn't heroin. This isn't cocaine. This isn't meth. This is fentanyl that is killing people. So this is poison.
More than just the individuals.
We need to, if there's fentanyl on the street, we need to take it off.
Right.
And that's what we are doing. We are going to do. And as long as I'm sheriff, that's exactly what we're going to do. Every single deputy, and you can have, yes, if someone's speeding, pull them over. You don't have to give them a ticket. Don't. Right. Compliance of the law is just as important, if not more so. So, and if you look at our stats, we do a lot of traffic stops. But we also don't write it. We're only at 40-some% of summons issues.
I asked Mark if he had a quota. He said, no, we can write all we want.
Right? But my quota more is I just want to see our guys out there working, making the street safer. And that means the entire county. I got asked a question a while ago, why are you enforcing the law in the town? Well, I have 15 to 20 deputies that are running through the town all day long.
Right. And the town, by the way, is part of the county.
It is. And I mentioned that to that individual. I said, you do know I'm the town sheriff as well, right? So, town police, if I see a town police officer back me up when I'm making a traffic stop, which I do, thank you. Hey, I appreciate it. Appreciate you covering my back.
Sure.
And I expect my deputies to do the same thing with the town, and
I've
do.
Seen it. And they do.
They do.
I've seen that.
So I'm very happy where we're moving forward. I think the drug court can be another tool on our belt to help save some individuals. And, is it going to work? I don't know. That's not my not my bailiwick. My bailiwick was to help get this moving forward. I had the perfect person. Probably one of the only people that probably could have done it so well, and helping Beth Rivas and Ed Daly. Like I said, we are very fortunate, but a lot of people don't understand. We're not just building a sheriff's office. We have Chief Bonzano, who's developing an even stronger fire and rescue, a communications center that's coming up where we're actually putting a joint communication center where it used to be ran just by the sheriff's office. Now fire and rescue has their input, which they should. We're answering their calls for them.
Exactly.
Right? So they have their input, and we have a board coming in. We have a representative from fire and rescue, a representative from the sheriff's office. And I think it would save, I really believe we'd have to do some more research, but I believe it would save the taxpayers of the town an astronomical amount of money as well if we had one true public safety communications building. Right. Could save on manpower and staffing, and we wouldn't have shortages and overtime. I really believe it would help us out. But that means we have to change our software, which we need to anyway. Our software is so outdated.
Kind of like the radios we did a couple years
ago. Exactly. So we found we were a little bit behind the times, about 20 years.
Yeah, technology does change, by the way.
It does. And so there's a lot of things moving forward behind the scenes that the annual report doesn't even show that.
We started this by talking about the annual report.
Yeah, right.
We haven't got there yet.
It goes back to
let's give me some highlights on the annual report that really stand out, that something that the public really didn't know.
Well, one of the things, if you look at, is all the different events that we're doing, and you mentioned the football camps and so forth. That's the community in the sheriff's office outreach.
That's part of community policing.
It is community policing. So what a lot of people don't realize is that there's only 12 certified community policing units in the entire Commonwealth. We will be the 13th. once we're done, and we should get it by the end of the year. I believe is what we're scheduled to, which means you have to have kind of like accreditation. You have to have certain things in place moving forward. So what that does, it kind of holds you to, but it also opens a lot of grant money coming in and special fundings and so forth. So
because
we're working
these
on
grants,
that. Very different.
And you mentioned that they don't want to throw their money away. They want to send it to people that are going to use it in what it was intended
exactly.
for. And the part of this accreditation and part of these kind of certifications are, we're playing by the rules and we're doing this, and we can do more because see what we've already done. When the funds come in, they know they're going to be well spent.
Exactly. And once we have the accreditation in place and we have the certification for the community policing, we start writing these grants. These are the big grants that we can go after.
Right.
So that was why, the county getting a grant writer and moving forward. And right now, my lieutenants and captains and the major, they're all writing grants and, to get this stuff in. And
that all saves our local taxpayers.
But it takes away from their day-to-day job. So
right.
There's different positions we're needing and trying to readjust and move forward. And, we're moving forward.
All right.
One little bite of the apple at a time.
So what's the number one thing on that report you think that really stands out that you can?
Wow. I'd have to really look at it if you look at the proactive policing, community policing stats, the K-9 program. That K-9 program has saved lives, taken a lot of lives. If you think about the amount of drugs that they've found on the street, and they're helping other agencies that are surrounding counties that are affecting us as well. It's hard to say one thing, Mike.
Sure.
I can't just say one because every single one of those deputies in that department deserves a pat on the back.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about employees real quick, which we haven't talked about. So I just throw it out there, and you
right on.
Well, since you're so open and transparent,
yeah.
How's your turnover rate been at the county?
Well, right now we're actually the major did a presentation to our CAC.
Right.
We're actually better than most agencies.
Right.
Fairfax County's down 70. I know the town was hurting for a while. We're being extremely picky though. So
that's the reason I ask it, because I was eavesdropping in on a conversation last night,
right.
and you were talking about how you were getting all these applications, but only several. You said something like 6 out of 30 even make it across my desk,
right?
Even though there were maybe 30 good applications, but
and we have very good people applying.
So it's not like we're not getting applications.
Well, we don't get many from east.
Right.
And we get a lot from the valley, and we call them, people jumping around and when someone's jumping around from agency to agency to agency, we want someone that's going to come in, and I don't care if they're young. We'd love to have a lateral, which means a already certified officer.
Sure.
And if we get them, we're more than happy. We definitely want.
You have to look a little deep when you have employees. There's a reason why they're moving,
right?
And it's not always because we're paying them more or paying them less. So you got to look deeper into the reason they're moving. And like you said, if you look, they have a history that every 3 years they've moved 6 times in their career. In the last 10 years they've moved 6 times. That's normally a flag.
I had one.
It's not always a bad flag. There's always a reason.
I had one just recently, and we've already sent him an offer letter. He's a lateral from the Maryland State Police, and then worked for NSA. He left local police and went to federal and uniform and plainclothes division. And I'm looking at his pay, and he's making more than I make as sheriff. And I'm like, I had to ask him. I literally saw it come across my desk, and normally I'm like, okay, if it makes it back, then if it makes it through my process of review, I know that people are, sure. they're what we want.
But people move for lots of reasons.
I called them. As soon as it came across, I said, all right, have you seen what we pay people? I said, look, and we know that. Chief Bonzano and I are working on a public safety pay scale because we're not in comparison. And we're losing some we've lost some for pay. The town's offering bonuses to sign-on bonuses.
Right.
I don't agree with that. I don't. I think I want the person that wants to come there to do the job and work. But I do believe if we really look at the salaries, most of my deputies can go make more money at Sheets or down at Ferguson's or Family Dollar. And I've drove a forklift before. Nobody was shooting at me.
That's right.
So
it's like a lot of jobs. There's a calling involved.
There is.
People have. It's more than just a job. It's a career, and it's an attitude. It's a lot of reasons why people stay at a place. And I always tell people when they leave, the first thing they complain about is the money, but that's rarely the reason they leave.
We went through 7-8 years in Northern Virginia where we didn't get pay raises.
Right.
When the last recession hit, and we all stayed on. We just, hey, you know what? We're
all in it together, right?
And yeah,
but if it's a good working environment and people feel like they're making a difference, people will stay.
And we had a solid agency at that time, and it was good working there, and the officers were professionals, and I learned a lot in that agency. I had a lot of people I tip my hat off to who helped develop me, Lieutenant Moore and some others that just really helped develop me. And if I could get some of these individuals to come here, but they can't take the pay cut.
They'll be commuting the other direction. It goes a lot into moving and changing jobs, and it's not as
easy as you think, especially in law enforcement. Because I don't care if you have 15 years or you have 20 years, you go to a different agency, you start all over.
You start over again. Yeah.
Because there's a trust factor of, will this guy or this girl have
your
my back?
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I will tell you, I speak with our deputies quite frequently. They don't like all my decisions, and that's fine. And I'll be more than happy to tell them why I did it. Yeah. They're not going to like all of them. But
I hit them up when I see them around town. I say, "How's Mark treating you?" Oh, great, good. Or the one, no comment. Oh,
right?
No, they.
You're not going to make. I had one guy call me, and he was, "Sheriff, this individual's doing this. This individual's my neighbor," and I was like, "But sir, he's allowed to do that." Yeah, but he's annoying me. And I'm like, well, sir, I'm not going to invoke his constitutional right to protect yours.
Right.
I can't do that. And really, our guys really understand our job is to enforce the law and protect the Constitution.
Right.
And that's my personal opinion of where my political opinion is will stay with me as sheriff. And when I run again, I will continue to run independent. I want everybody's endorsement.
Exactly.
But as long as the sheriff is sitting in that seat, that individual should be 100% for every individual in this county, and that means their constitutional rights are being protected at every level. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah. And my deputies are going to enforce the law in the town if they see a violation happen in front of them. If the town wants to take, hey, you want it? I'll get more than happy to give you, and I'll back you up.
Sure.
But as long as the crime is being contained and dealt with, that's what the community needs to know and see.
We want our sheriff and police to make our community safe.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they do a good job.
Both agencies do very well. Yeah. We have a great chief. We do.
Of course, he came up through the sheriff's department. So
right. We have a great chief. Him and I don't see eye to eye on everything. Right. We don't. We're never going. No one's going to.
But your jobs are different.
Yes and no.
They are.
Yes and no. Different. In some aspects, yes.
You got different bosses. So
right. Exactly. And my boss is the people. And that's why I love being sheriff. And I would hate to be a chief of police. Yeah. Because that's my personal.
You have a constitutional office.
Exactly.
It's a big difference.
I have to protect the Constitution. Yeah. And I will stand on our border and I will protect our Constitution from anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone.
That's the difference. People don't realize that the sheriff's office is really a different kind of office than the police in a way. I mean, it's a constitutional office. It's in our state constitution that we have a sheriff and what their role is. And what they do. So.
I was asked if we were going to mandate vaccination. And No, I'm not. I don't believe it's constitutional. Matter of fact, it's been pretty much stated it's not constitutional. So myself and excuse me, Sheriff Mosier talked to, and he's like, "Yeah, Mark, I'm not doing it either."
How did the vaccination rate go through the department?
It's not my concern.
Oh, okay.
It's a medical issue.
Right.
I don't feel. I really don't. I don't feel that
So your
it's my
deputies
job.
don't carry their little card around
No,
to show.
I'm not certified to ask them for it.
That's right. Well, that's what I think. That's right.
So, I mean, I'm not a doctor, and it's not my job. Now, if you're not fit for duty, that's another thing.
That's right.
But until that aspect comes in, I'm going to protect the constitutional right of every individual of this county.
That's great. That's what we want.
That's
why you make the big bucks, Mark. I mean,
okay. But, I think, talking with Chief Bonzano, we're building an entire county. Chief Bonzano is dealing with some different issues also, trying to make that agency
You're trying
better.
to move a ship that's sailed one direction for so long. We're trying to turn it.
Well, right now, I think we have a very good captain of the ship. And without him, we wouldn't be as far along. We've had some investigations, obviously, that have shown that maybe we hadn't been doing things like they should be for the last decades or so. And so we've seen some investigations that have really uncovered not malfeasance or anything like that, but just maybe poor management or oversight.
Maybe some poor judgment.
Okay, we'll go there.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to more civil than it is criminal. So when we look at it, that's exactly what we're looking at. Is it criminal? And John Bell has been a blessing as well on that aspect of it. Whether it be certain events that happen around the county, I can call John, and John and I will sit down and talk and say, okay, yeah, I believe this is civil because of this. Yeah, I see your point.
Yeah.
But I think we have a charge here.
Right.
But are
you going to prosecute it?
Is it right? Well, and is it really worth prosecuting? And
Right.
Why are we going to really prosecute a low-hanging fruit that's being told to do something that's inappropriate because of the way we've always done it? And I've heard that forever, and that irritates me. We've always done it that way. Well, it doesn't mean it's the right way, or that doesn't mean there's not a better way. I'll come up with ideas and that I think are a great way, and I will sit down with the command staff. And that's what's great about my command staff. Every single one of them will have the freedom to say, no, Sheriff, we don't believe that's a good idea. And we will develop a plan. Just because you see the problem, but if you don't develop a plan and a direction to resolve the issue, then really all you're doing is complaining.
Mm-hmm.
So we will sit down and discuss it, and we will come up with a collective, collaborated plan to address situations to make our agency and our county better.
That's great. Well, I tell you what, we didn't get into the annual report as much as I wanted to, but we do have another story about it, and we posted the complete report in it. So what I'm going to do is post it again underneath this
awesome
video, and we'll highlight some things in there. But it's great, and we'll get back together again.
My door's always open. You know that.
He says that, but I'm busy today. I'm busy. Your schedule fills up. So
I have people come,
but he always does make time. And you know what? You can call Mark, and he'll answer his phone.
I will if you can get through me. We're there. A lot of people just come knock on the door.
Well, I know it, and I've done that before.
Right?
Yeah.
We're good.
Or he'll say, "I can't talk now, but come back in 10 minutes." But it's great, and that's good, and that's what we want. I think people. The old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think you walk and you have that walk and that talk. And I think
we care. We care.
And it shows in the things you do. And I do check up on you with your deputies, and I
you should
and see how they're doing. And I don't see 20 of them going to Anthony's for pizza anymore.
We've changed a lot of things, and we're facing some hurdles with vehicles not being able to purchase or buy, and some things. So equipment wise, we're dealing with things, and obviously this war or actions that are occurring. We can call it a war.
Sure.
The war in Russia and Ukraine, it's going to affect the entire population.
Right.
So I'm sure we're going to have to adjust how we're doing things as well, and moving forward, and we'll see how it affects us in the long run. 2023 is probably going to be a busy year as well, and the rest of 2022.
Yeah.
So these are things that it'll take us a while to recover from.
I want to come over one day and talk to your staff about these new body cameras and things that you got, and you got these high definition dash cams now, and
Getting there.
Just talk about that
We're
technology.
rebuilding it.
We don't realize that the investigators and the law enforcement officers use a lot of technology in their investigations and just in the things they do in their daily life that, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, we didn't have these tools.
Yeah.
And, it's the old saying, we're doing more with less. And I think that's pretty much everybody's.
But I also believe sometimes law enforcement gets in a habit of using technology.
Utilizing the technology
and relying
on it compared to.
And then when it goes down, yesterday, Front Roll's dispatch was in our dispatch center. That's what's great about it, is because if one goes down, we can take a seat down there, or they can take a seat up there, and our officers still remain with communications. Yeah. So that's why we're looking at their software. Their software is Spillman, and it's a little bit more updated than ours. And if we can all get on the same page, it'll be a lot easier transition in the future.
And everything else.
Right. Yeah. And we can communicate better.
But you mentioned we all rely on, you've been to the store. Well, the computer's down. We can't check you out.
Right.
What do you mean? Hey.
No, I'm with you.
So you can't beat old shoe leather.
You can imagine how what happened to us when all the infiltration into our IT system. Yeah. It really,
puts
for 3 months.
Puts a damper on everything.
And without Lieutenant Brogan, I don't know, and Ed Daly and them taking the spearhead and running with it, we would have had a hard time.
So we got to always have the shoe leather, get out on the street, That's
what I'm saying. That annual report is great, but there's been a lot of great things that agency's done over the last 2 years, and my hat's off to all.
Well, we appreciate all the things that you do and do for our community and for our youth and for just everything. It's great. I mean, you do a lot behind the scenes. He doesn't blow his own horn that often, and so we're trying to help him out a little bit and highlight some of your achievements.
Our deputies, I will tell you, Mike, and the county, our deputies are some of the best. They are bar none.
Next time you see them at LD's, buy their breakfast. That's what we do. Again, Mark, thanks so much for coming in.
I appreciate it, Mike.
We appreciate it. Good seeing you, and we'll keep an eye on it. That's what
Hey, I want that.
Appreciate it. Thanks again.
Yes, sir.